spots, Lake Okeechobee near Clewiston, Florida. Although it's the middle of winter in most places of the country, the bass here are starting their spring thing, the spawn. And as usual, the fishing and the catching is great for these pro anglers. And with $175,000 on the line, this Florida Invitational is going to be exciting. I'm Bob Cobb. Stay tuned.
Scream Invitational Tournament Trail. A $175,000 fish-off worth $34,000 to the winner. Big, sprawling Lake Okeechobee. A regular stop on the BASS Tournament Trail for the past 9 years. Not only is the fishing great, it's consistently great. But this time, contestants are facing an obstacle unfamiliar to most of them here. Very low water. The low water situation creates problems for these tournament anglers, the biggest of which is the loss of fishing time, because they must slowly maneuver to reach their fishing spots. The low water has also bunched up the bass and the anglers. For many of the 313 contestants, the catching is fast and furious this first day, as schools of small bass are located in shallow, grassy areas. While the fishermen are using plastic worms, jigs, spoons, and spinnerbaits, vibrating lipless crankbaits are paying off big, as they usually do on grass-filled Okeechobee. But a 7-fish daily limit of 12-inch keeper bass won't win this 3-day tournament. The prediction is it will take better than 50 pounds to pull off first place. That's 17 or more pounds of bass daily. And with the bass biting, you can bet that may happen.
Denny's recently coming back from a few days hiatus with a back operation. He's back in action and strong. I want to watch the scales, folks. Denny BRAUER has put it on him. £23, 4 ounces. How about that? Let's hold up a couple of big ones, Denny. That is strong, buddy. He's late. All right. So weigh the big bass. 6 pounds, 7 ounces. Denny, you've been away for a couple of tournaments now. How's it feel to get back in action and come in with this kind of catch?
Well, this is rather rare for me on Okeechobee. I normally have trouble down here, so I was tickled to death to catch fish like that. I've got a little ground to make up. Maybe I fished a little harder. I don't know.
What's it look like for the next 2 days for you?
Well, this lake, you're capable of catching a stringer like that every day, but for some reason, the fish move around quite a bit, and if you're fortunate to get a big bite or two, you can repeat. But past history down here has taught me that it's just as easy not to weigh any in.
Well, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Great score. Glad to see you back in such good shape.
If there's one favorite here, it's got to be all-time great Roland Martin of Clewiston. What are his predictions on this tournament?
We've had 3 stringers, I think, over 20 pounds brought in already today. You think that'll hold up for the next 2 days? People can produce that kind of weight? We're looking at 60 pounds in for a 3-day tournament.
Yeah, but if you look at those top 3 stringers, you'll see that they all had a 6 or 7 or 8 pound bass, which I didn't have. You know, I felt like I'll get one of those size fish in the next 2 days, and I'll hopefully have a 20-pound stringer one of those days, but I don't think that they'll repeat themselves.
Lake Okeechobee near Clewiston, Florida. Although it's the middle of winter in most places of the country, the bass here are starting their spring thing, the spawn. And as usual, the fishing and the catching is great for these pro anglers. And with $175,000 on the line, this Florida Invitational is going to be exciting. I'm Bob Cobb. Stay tuned.
Scream Invitational Tournament Trail. A $175,000 fish-off worth $34,000 to the winner. Big, sprawling Lake Okeechobee. A regular stop on the BASS Tournament Trail for the past 9 years. Not only is the fishing great, it's consistently great. But this time, contestants are facing an obstacle unfamiliar to most of them here. very low water. The low water situation creates problems for these tournament anglers, the biggest of which is the loss of fishing time, because they must slowly maneuver to reach their fishing spots. The low water has also bunched up the bass and the anglers. For many of the 313 contestants, the catching is fast and furious this first day, as schools of small bass are located in shallow, grassy areas. While the fishermen are using plastic worms, jigs, spoons, and spinnerbaits, vibrating lipless crankbaits are paying off big, as they usually do on grass-filled Okeechobee. But a 7-fish daily limit of 12-inch keeper bass won't win this 3-day tournament. The prediction is it will take better than 50 pounds to pull off first place. That's 17 or more pounds of bass daily. And with the bass biting, you can bet that may happen.
Denny's recently coming back from a few days hiatus with a back operation. He's back in action and strong. I want to watch the scales, folks. Denny BRAUER has put it on him. $23 pounds, 4 ounces. How about that? Let's hold up a couple of big ones, Denny. That is strong, buddy. All right. So weigh the big bass. 6 pounds, 7 ounces. Denny, you've been away for a couple of tournaments now. How's it feel to get back in action and come in with this kind of catch?
Well, this is rather rare for me on Okeechobee.
The water pushes to the other end, and when it turns and blows the other way, it pushes right back. A lot of people's fish right now. We've got a bunch of buddies, all the Team Storm guys, and they're all having problems too because we banked on the south end, and right now with the water blowing out of the south, or the wind blowing out of the south, and the water pushed out, it's making it a lot tougher with these fish. Right now, we're fishing in about 18 inches of water. And there's beds all through here. There's a bed there, and there's a bed right there. There's a bed right there. But the fish are not on their beds today.
But despite the conditions, you can bet someone will figure a way to catch bass.
Gary Klein, folks, if you look at the scales, he is in 7th place. Good creo yesterday, total of 17.4, another limit today. And watch the scales, folks. Gary Klein's weight, 15 pounds. $15 ounces. Mark it. 15. Let's give him a good hand, folks. There you are. Fantastic. This puts you in the lead, the tournament. I see no fish that are absolutely astronomically big, but folks, there's a lot of fish in this category right here. He's got several, and that put him up there. He's got a remarkable catch, and this is going to move him all the way up from 7th place. And I got to know, is there something going on out there that we don't know about that you might share?
Well, Ray, there is, especially in the area that we found. It's kind of unique. There's only one other tournament competitor or angler that's fishing in this area. It's a real good friend of mine, Greg HINES, who's currently in 3rd place. He had 21.10 yesterday, and folks, he's got another nice stringer of fish again today, and everybody's honored us. You know, we're so obvious we're not obvious, and nobody's shut down on us. Everybody's leaving us alone, and we've got a few fish in one little area, and each one of us are probably catching 20 or 30 fish a day. Today, the big fish didn't bite. Yesterday, I personally watched Greg lose one about 8 to 10, one about 5, and one about 6, so he should have weighed over 30 pounds yesterday. I just haven't had any big bites yet.
Well, we have one more day. Good luck. Hope you hold the lead.
Thank you, Ray.
The average age for these professional bass anglers is in the mid-30s. But there's one Bassmaster here a bit over par, Missouri's Shorty Evans.
Shorty Evans, 77th birthday. Let's everybody sing happy birthday to him. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, lousy Shorty. Happy birthday to you. Shorty, listen, I tell you, pal, it's been a long time on the trail, but it's been quick, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah, but I've got one more tournament to win before I hang it up.
And it seems Mike Sermon did find some bass.
Mike Sermon, folks, 4th place with 20 pounds and 8 ounces. This young man has got a chance to pull this thing out. This is his mother and daddy and his wife, first wife, and his weight, 17 pounds and 4 ounces. Let's give him a nice hand. Sermon, that's going to move you up. We'll take the... You have just pulled into the lead. Sermon is in the lead.
And now Arizona's Greg Hines comes to the scales.
Greg Hines in third place with 21 pounds and 10 ounces. Now, folks, this is going to be an interesting race. Sherman is taking the lead. He was in fourth. He's now in first. Now comes third place of yesterday. Greg Hines, Arizona angler, total weight 16 pounds and 4 ounces. The lead may change again. I believe Bob Cobb will make a fix. You have just pulled in the lead by 2 ounces. Now, hold up these fish right here. A couple of these fish, folks, are not enormous. They're just good, solid 2.5 pound bass. Here's a couple of them that are very typical of what he's got. You got to look at this man. He's 6 foot 4 inches tall, and the bass don't look as big as they really are. All right. He's taking over the lead by 2 ounces. We'll move the fish off, and I must ask you, Greg, we have one more day, and you've got some real good fishermen bumping you. So what are you going to do? What's the plan?
Well, I'm just going to go back to the area I was fishing the last 2 days. There's a lot of fish there. Gary Klein and myself are fishing it, the only 2 boats in there, and so we should be able to catch a few fish tomorrow.
And how does a western desert impoundment angler like Greg Hines find bass on Florida's Okeechobee?
Fishing out west, I fish a lot in the ocean, and one of the keys in fishing the ocean is watching the birds, and that's how I found the fish. I was just driving across this big bay, and I saw the seagulls diving out in the bay. And so I just idled around, and I could see bait fish working underneath, great big shad. And so I immediately took out a crankbait, a Cordell spot, threw out the cross there, and the first stop I made in pre-fish, I probably caught 25 fish out of it. And then after doing that, I just started working the area and trying to figure out why they're there and what they're doing. And basically, they're just cruising over the grass, and it's very, very fine grass. It's basically a bare bottom, but there's a little bit of shrimp grass and a little bit of eel grass that's holding the fish. And you just got to move until you hit a school, and then I'll throw out a buoy and keep circling the area and try to stay with the school and catch as many fish as I can when I can.
The weather forecast for tomorrow morning is a cold front. How will the changing conditions affect the fishing?
We do have a weather front coming in, and today the wind is predominantly out of the south. Tomorrow it's supposed to switch, come out of the northwest. Air temperature is supposed to drop a little bit, and I think really if the weather gets too severe, it's going to affect us, not the fish. Those fish are committed to the area. A rattle trap is a real good lure to use during the frontal conditions. For some reason, the fish just keep getting a rattle trap. So I still feel very confident that we're going to be able to go out and catch 15 to maybe a 30-pound stringer. Who knows?
The Bassmasters will be right back from the Big O, Lake Okeechobee at Clewiston, Florida. Stay tuned. The final chapter of the Bassmaster Florida Invitational, and what the day will bring is unknown. But one thing's for certain, the weather has changed. Falling temperatures and strong, strong winds. For the most part, Okeechobee is a wide-open, unprotected lake. And many of the pros have been fishing offshore weed beds until today.
30-mile-an-hour winds, the temperature went from 80 degrees to 50 degrees. And it's just super tough. I have a feeling, most of the people that were in open water, yesterday there was 30 boats out from me fishing open water peppergrass. And as you can see, there's not a boat out there today. There's just no way to fish it. They've got 3-foot seas on places they were fishing. I've been pitching way back in the bulrush line, but you can't even do that because the boat's moving too fast. You can't slow it down. This is going to be a very tough day.
For this morning's leader, fishing's tough. Greg Hines, in the same area he's fished for 2 days, is having trouble coming up with the bites he needs to win his first BASS tournament. How Gary Klein is doing is a mystery at this point, because the 30-mile-per-hour winds prevent the Bassmasters cameras from getting close to him. But on Okeechobee, an angler's fortunes can change on the next cast, like this 7-pound, 9-ounce lunker caught by Florida pro Chet Dothett on a spinnerbait. It'll be tough to beat for Big Bass of the Day honors at this afternoon's weigh-in.
That's the reason. We got one more.
Now the moment of truth. Can Greg Hines retain his lead?
Greg Hines of Arizona, 2 bass. The folks, Greg Hines, if you know the scoreboard, is laying in first place, 37 pounds and 14 ounces. chance to win this big tournament here, and it brings in 2 small fish. The weight 3 pounds and 9 ounces. Greg, I gotta ask you to tell me what happened. I know the wind was part of the problem, but was that the biggest problem?
Well, I'd like to use that as an excuse, I guess, but the fish just didn't bite for me today. Gary Klein's in the same area I was in, and as you guys will see, he'll have a nice limit of fish. My partner caught 4 fish, and it was just with the wind and everything, it was just a tough day, and he didn't bite for me today.
And now Gary Klein in 7th place this morning weighs in.
Gary has 33 pounds of fish when he started this morning. He needs 10 pounds and 15 ounces to take the lead. Klein is in 7th place at this moment. The last day, let's weigh him and see what we got. He went in some treacherous water. 20 pounds, 4 ounces. Bingo. Boy, that is doing it. That is clearly, he takes the lead. We'll determine in just a minute how much, but that is a remarkable catch. Folks, he's got fish there stacked in here like cordwood. Yeah, grab a hold of a couple of big ones. All of them are big fish. All of them are nice fish. Look at here. He's got a whole nest of over 20 pounds. Biggest creel of the day. And, folks, this will make him the winner of this tournament unless another miracle comes down the pipe. Let's give him a good hand. Gary, this is an obvious victory for you. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like it. You come from 7th place with 31 pounds, and bingo, you're over 50.
Well, Ray, I've really been fortunate in this event. I guess really I owe this tournament to 2 people. First, my lovely wife, Jana, for supporting me. I think since we've been married, she's really set me straight on how to become a better tournament angler and a better person. And second, it was a real close friend of mine, Greg HINES. And Greg had some unfortunate, I guess, things happen today. He only caught 2 fish, and we were both fishing the same area. And Greg came to me the second day in practice and said, Gary, I found the darndest wad of fish. There must be thousands of them out there, and there's a big area out there. Why don't we just see if we can't work it together, and maybe we can keep each other in line and catch as many fish as we can. That's what we've done, folks. The last 3 days, Greg and I have had this one area all to ourselves. We're fishing way out in the main lake, and we're throwing rattle traps, and I think Greg's throwing a Cordell rattling spot. But the fish were in about 1 foot to 3.5 feet of water. And it was real important to just not cast a rattle trap out there and reel it in. You had to really get in tune with what the bait was doing. In other words, you had to clip the top of the grass because there's no visible grass out there. There's a little bit of shrimp grass, some eel grass, and it was real important to make the long cast of the rattle trap and just kind of work it across the top of the grass. And once it broke free, the fish would hit it. But again, folks, I really owe this win to Greg.
Well, that's super. Let's give him a nice hand, folks. I think he's our victor. All the best. Congratulations.
Gary Klein, the champion of the Florida Invitational, his 5th victory on the Bassmaster Tournament Trail, and a strong performance in his bid to repeat as the Bass Angler of the Year. Right now, it's time for the Pros Pointer, the how-to section of the Bassmasters. Brought to you by Wrangler, the most comfortable jeans known to man.
What kind of retrieve were you moving the lure? How were you moving the lure, if anything special?
Well, today it was definitely something special, but the first 2 days it was just real important to make a long cast and feel the bottom, folks. That was real important. My partners, I think you did a lot of casting and reeling, and it was real important that you fished the lure. You had to concentrate on the action of that bait, make a long cast, feel the wobbling of the crankbait, and allow it to clip the top of the grass, because as soon as it broke free the grass, the fish would grab it. And there's just little patches of this grass throughout the lake. And sometimes you'd go 200 or 300 yards and never feel a thing, and all of a sudden you'd hit a little clump. Once you located the clump with the rattle trap, then you'd make 5 or 6 casts around that clump and finally catch a fish. Today the fish wanted a drop. For some reason, I don't know, but the first fish about 4.5 pounds hit me on the sink after I made the cast. So then for the rest of the day, I'd make a long cast of the rattle trap, rip it, and let it sink. Rip it, let it sink, and I do this about 4 or 5 times and reel it in and make another cast. And almost every fish today would hit me on the sink, and they just, tick it like a jig strike.